I'm your cult boyfriend. My name's Zach. And I'd like to start this off with one word, and it's masterpiece. Not just the fourth season, which is, without a doubt in my mind, the best season of One Tree Hill. I'm talking about all four seasons as a whole, in total. It's a masterpiece. At the end of the finale of the fourth season, I thought it was a symphony. I thought I just experienced something legendary and certainly masterful. There are things that I was lacking in my earlier analysis videos, things that I didn't know were mysteries, but if you watch the videos, I kind of treated them as if they were, or as these open questions that possibly didn't have answers, philosophical ones. This show just blew my entire fucking mind. I think that in every video that I've made, probably, I've brought up the idea that the actions, the behaviors of the characters on One Tree Hill, they feel so desperate, right? Their behaviors always seem to be acts of redemption, as if they're trying to be redeemed for something that we're not made entirely aware of. And I used to draw that up to it's teen drama, and everything is life or it's death. You know, everything is hyper intense and super emotional, but starting with episode 10 of season 4, I got my answer as clearly as I possibly could. Those are actual acts of redemption. These characters are trying to be redeemed. These characters are trying to be saved by something that they don't know how to define anymore, by something that they don't think they can attain anymore. And that thing is something better, something promised, something spiritual. You can call it faith or belief. You can call it whatever you want. But it's a fascinating theme in One Tree Hill that has been made completely clear to me by the 10th episode. I'm glad that I split my coverage, my analysis of season 4 into these two halves. I did episodes 1 through 9 and primarily focused on the electric moment of clarity that those series of episodes ended with, specifically surrounding and having to do with Peyton and Lucas kissing. That made me cry. And it was like Lucas came full circle. That is a full character arc. But silly fucking me, stupid me, I covered it in a video and I forgot. But we'll get to him in a second. I want to talk about these moments of redemption first. At the end of that episode, Lucas suffers a heart attack. And it's Capra-esque, which is great because I love Frank Capra. And the ghost of Uncle Keith comes by and shows him what people would be like without him. Side note, Goth Brooke is like, whoa, girl, fucking, I want that version. But okay, yeah, it's like pretty bad without him. And one person matters a lot. What you do matters, absolutely. Especially with Lucas, his series of self-sacrifice, his addiction to punishment. It's for a reason and it's for a purpose. But yes, there are penalties and there are costs to his selfless virtue. But it's a virtue I find heroic ultimately. But once again, we'll focus on Lucas in just a few minutes because it's also in episode 10 where those moments of redemption are given a spiritual beat and an actual lyrical rhythm. It's given a very exact hyper-specific melody from the showrunner himself. Now, I have said I'm not going to say his name out of respect for the cast members who he abused while he was there. One Tree Hill is a singularly impassioned and psychotic show. And I do think that the person who ran it, it's no wonder that he was a disturbed individual because this is a very ultimately psychotic way of exploring some of the most hyper intense dimensions of the human experience of teenagers in America. I would have a hard time imagining the showrunner being a completely healthy individual. This is not justifying anything he's doing. I'm just saying it makes it he's difficult to ignore when he insists upon himself so much so that he inserts himself into the drama directly. He's in the 10th episode as the record store owner, and I recognized him immediately. He is Max, the record store owner, and being me, I really want to engage with this material wholeheartedly in every which way that I can. So when I see the showrunner appear, you know, as narcissistic as it may seem, I'm hoping there's a more postmodern quality to that modality, right? I'm hoping that he's here not only to give the characters within his own drama direction, but maybe give me a philosophical clue, a baseline to follow, since we are kind of wrapping up a huge storyline here. So I paid attention to what he was saying, and what he did of most value was recommend that Peyton listen to a very specific song by a band called La Rocca, I think, Non-Believer. And it is played in the episode, and, I found it on Spotify or something, and I put that shit on repeat. And I was like, I gotta engage with this openly. I want to know exactly what this means. It's pretty easy to pick up what the song means. It's like, essentially, heaven should be real because of the pain that we suffer. Like humankind, the human experience is so hopeless that we deserve hope. Hope Hoping is in and of itself like a heavenly reality. The song itself is kind of saying, I can't believe in God, in faith, in the ultra modern age, in the postmodern age. I know I can't believe in God. I know God is dead. I know we have killed him. But I can't find that warmth. I can't find that comfort elsewhere. Those symbols, the idea of God, the promise of reward after a life of complete despair, those were vital to existence. All of this self-sacrifice, all of this dread, all of this heartbreak, all of this betrayal. If all I experience is hopelessness, then why hope if I know it'll never get better? If hope itself is heavenly reward. And listening to the songs, do you take the non-believers because I'm a non-believer? And I put it on repeat, and I went driving. And I went driving for a while. I went driving into the city, and I stopped by some bars, and I met with a few friends, and I did that thing that's called, like, having a lived experience. I went and, like, drank with friends. I went and talked with girls, and I went and tried to find that spark, those electric moments I was talking about, because nothing is by chance what I'm figuring out. Everything that I've said about One Tree Hill is deliberate by the showrunner. Like, I have been correct every step of the way. Even when I thought that I was maybe stretching something in my analysis videos, no, motherfucker, I wasn't stretching it enough. So the first step was listening to that song over and over again, and then fully understanding where Peyton was, where Lucas was, but most significantly, where the showrunner was, and how he was planning on wrapping everything up, how he was planning on finishing it in such a hopeful way that is full of angst and full of desperation. All of these kids are acting like a moment of redemption is always upon them. They're trying to be redeemed in the eyes of something that may not exist anymore and probably doesn't exist anymore. But life is a series of moments of redemption if you're living in a virtuous way. Virtue is redemption. It's a cycle of redemption. It's always trying to be better. These kids are constantly acting like they're trying to be redeemed because they don't know how to behave in like the first teen culture, where even pop culture itself recognizes the death of the concept of God. So it's this new kind of like replacement, right? It's this new kind of thing that virtue can't die. We can't let virtue die. Even if this is like a vaguely Christian kind of concept, I believe that all American pop culture is vaguely Christian simply by context or, setting, geography, right? It doesn't have to be a strictly Christian reading. I'm not reading it as strictly Christian at all. I'm reading it as strictly virtue. You have to hope that people like Lucas and Peyton, who've been punished their entire lives, get some sort of moment of clarity, which they did receive, but punishment can't be eternal. There has to be some sort of spring renewal, right? And likewise, evil men like Dan Scott, retribution, justice, a divine punishment, if I could be so brazen as to use that word. Divine justice must find that man. And that brings us to Lucas Scott. I was right. Like I'm always right about One Tree Hill, but I'm figuring out that the showrunner and the writers are constantly barely one step ahead of my reading of the show. They're barely ahead of me because I'm like right there, like right before it happens. I just can't see it exactly when it's happening. In my last video, I was like, this makes perfect sense because Lucas completed his arc. Peyton completed her arc. It's a perfect moment of clarity, a moment of hope for this constantly punished couple, for this romantic pairing. It was a beautiful, complete full circle of a wonderfully thought out and captured arc, you know? But I covered it in an earlier analysis video. That's why this show is beautiful as a 4-season thing. Like, I haven't seen further seasons yet. I can only speak of the first 4. And it would be impossible for any other seasons to be as great as these put together. I covered this shit in the second season when Dan hands Luke the final problem, the Sherlock Holmes versus Professor Moriarty tale. The final problem, Zach. Lucas took on the devil in that season, and Lucas lost. He failed. And I said in that video, the final problem will always be Dan Scott. The final problem will always be masculine virtue or fatherhood. The final problem will always be how Lucas can deal with Dan Scott. And I honestly didn't think he ever would be able to unless he deserted it, unless he said he was done fighting insincere battles. But oh no. Oh no. Lucas Scott finally vanquished evil here. I'm shocked, honestly. But I'm still so surprised that forgot. I forgot. Lucas can't finish yet. The final problem is Dan Scott. So after episode 9, when Keith shows up in that dream, that's when he starts it. That's when he's like, think back to when I died, Luke. Think back to it. Jimmy wouldn't have killed me. Think, Luke. And Luke spends the rest of that season like Sherlock Holmes and a very depressed and very fucking hot. My God, he was pretty as hell in this season, dude. Regardless, he figured out bit by bit, piece by piece by puzzle piece, that Dan Scott killed his uncle. And once again, the game was afoot, and Lucas had one more shot to take down the devil. Victory is fully eclipsed and realized through Nathan, which is honestly through Deb. Deb, a character who I don't think I've said anything kind about up until this point. She believes Lucas. She believes him. And I was so impressed with her for that, because she was so unavailable psychologically and emotionally this season due to her addiction and self-destructive personality. She had the clarity of mind to know that Lucas was telling her the truth. And she told that to Nathan, who confronted his father about it. And victory is truly eclipsed through Nathan, pitifully hoping that his father is decent and like pleading with his father. And then Dan has to confess. The favorite son disowned the spectacular father in spectacular fashion. That's how you beat the devil. You reveal the devil's soul, that he has one, and that it's unbearable to him. You torture him with virtue and self-sacrifice. And this is how Lucas Scott finally defeated the devil. I didn't see any of it coming, but it made so much sense. This show solved the final problem. It solved the problem that Sherlock Holmes couldn't solve. and that in this one, the good guy got to walk away. And in a show that's so obsessed with punishing its main characters, it let Lucas win. Totally win. Lucas became a true hero, a true postmodern brat to end all other ones. Lucas Scott, welcome to my personal Hall of Fame. I mean, let's go to Peyton pretty directly. Actually, let me eat a few of my words from the last video. Let me talk about Brooke first. Because in the last video, I expressed a little bit of frustration. I was like, guys, you I get that Sophia Bush is really cute, but you can't just there's no true juxtaposition here. If you're going to frame it as a contest of misery, One Tree Hill writers, and I'm going to treat it as such at times. And nothing that had happened to Brooke up until that point was at all comparable, was at all on the same level of punishment as like Nathan, Lucas, Peyton, or Haley. Like nothing. Not a fucking thing. She just got to be cute and have her heart hurt or broken a few times. These other people all experience heartbreak too, but they also experience like death and assault and like complete long lasting betrayal. Um, I thought that Brooke got off easy a lot, and I didn't understand why the writers and the showrunner they were being so seemingly kind to Brooke. And I was like, you guys got to step it up. Like I don't like seeing Brooke cry because it breaks my heart, but to get to moments of clarity that every character gets to experience, like it's their reward for all of the hopelessness that they are put through. To get to a moment of clarity, though, involves a hell of a lot of self-sacrifice and punishment, and I wanted Brooke to have that opportunity, but to get there, there has to be a lot of hurt and a lot of pain, and I know that. And that speaks volumes about what One Tree Hill's idea of moments of heaven are like, but they are reached through long, long intervals of extreme pain and agony. And well, in the second half of the fourth season, Brooke definitely experiences that. Brooke's interiority is revealed through talks that she would have with Rachel, who was a very great character. And very briefly on the topic of Rachel, in my season 3 analysis, I believe I was like, she feels like she's 8 different characters in one. It's a contradiction. No, it's a deliberate thing that they did. And I was right, but not for the correct reasons. She's been to so many different schools. She's been expelled from so many different schools, so she's had to remold herself. I mean, they even talk about her like she's made of plastic, which I think is very demeaning and dehumanizing. I don't really vibe with that, but it works to serve the metaphor that I'm reaching for and that the writers were certainly reaching for. She's had to rewrite herself. She's had to redefine herself at so many different schools that she ends up getting suspended or expelled from. So those 8 different contradictory personality types I saw within her existed. They were there. I just didn't know that they were so obviously and deliberately placed within her. And Danielle Harris, I believe her name is, did wonderfully. What a great character. I really actually loved her near the end of her arc, which runs in parallel lines to Brooks, but Brooke is able to open up to Rachel and to Chase, played by Steven from Laguna Beach. Like, fucking seriously? Okay. He was very underwhelming. I'll say that. Whatever. I don't take it back. If you're, don't be a fan. Come on, he's fucking very underwhelming. But he does get her to open up about who she is. Because who is she really? She's like an object to everybody. It's not necessarily like in an objectified way, it's in a way that is labeled or classified. There's this great part where she's having a picture taken in front of a projector with all of these mean things written on it. Like she's being classified into social distinctions, into derogatory or mean spirited words. But like, who are you, Brooke? Who are you? And I think that the tragedy of Brooke Davis is that everybody already thought they had her figured out to begin with. And that didn't allow for too much autonomy, honestly, not within the heavily stratified world of high school and being in the like popular elite group of high school. And throughout the second half of season 4, she and Peyton completely fall out, and for good reason. She ridiculed Peyton's mother's death. She is an entirely unfair person and an unreasonable one, but she's also unreasonably loyal in the most unexpected and dire and fateful ways. When Peyton has to face Psycho Derek again, she doesn't have to face him alone, and she doesn't have to face him with a man. Last time she needed two fucking 6 foot tall, strong men to beat his ass out of a window. This time around, and the time that really mattered, the time that they were playing for keeps, all she needed was her best friend. All she needed was Brooke. And Brooke, I never expected such courage and heroism from her to feel so natural. And that's when it shook me and went, you've classified her too. You've just thought she was the party girl. You didn't think she had this in her, but it felt genuine. It didn't feel like a contrived moment within the show. It felt completely intense and it felt truthful. I believed that in that moment Brooke would have died for Peyton, and that opened up an entire world of complexity of Brooke Davis that I had not considered before, and I am embarrassed to admit that. Honestly, very embarrassed to admit it. But I also feel like the writers were keeping that in their back pocket, and they shocked me when they finally laid down a full house for Brooke Davis, a royal flush. Like, and from there, she just gets more and more fleshed out to where she's the one breaking down at the graduation party. And you see even more inside of her. Like, why did I think she had it so much better? Because she did. She had high school figured out. She had the social politics understood. But she doesn't have the real world at all. She doesn't know what to expect, and she's terrified. Brooke Davis doesn't like to be exposed. Who does like to be exposed? Imagine being at a party and they're looking through like highlight reels and home movies, and then you see yourself having sex on it. That's a whole other can of worms with Nathan. Ethically, we don't have to go down that road. I think it was very wrong of him, especially since Brooke was clearly a lot more intoxicated than he was. But whatever. I guess. I'm just gonna go along with the show here. But Nathan had it so much easier than Brooke did there. Brooke was exposed, whereas Nathan was highlighted in a large way to me. And that's when all of those kind of like micro punishments of Brooke came into full effect, full exposure. And I realized that those sorts of things had been happening to Brooke since the first season. It's just that she internalizes all of it. She internalizes all of that pain and can force a smile so naturally that I can't even spot the fakery of it. Brooke Davis ended up being a completely complicated and sophisticated character, just as complicated and sophisticated as Lucas, as Peyton, as Nathan, and as Haley. And yeah, I'm embarrassed for ever doubting her sophistication. What an amazing archetype that definitely transcended her limitations. Amazing, amazing performance by Sophia Bush this season. It's wonderful seeing Peyton and Lucas enjoy these moments of electricity. I'm still charged and I'm still shocked by their chemistry. I love that when they first make love, finally, for the very first time, right? It's coincidentally, but not because nothing's coincidentally. That's what I'm realizing. It's all been deliberate from the very fucking first episode. They make love to Stolen by Dashboard Confessional, which to me nostalgically mirrors their near collision in the pilot, their true first meeting that we see as viewers to hands down when she's just on those suicide drives through red lights, right? And now we get to consummate that fatal wish of love. It's so cool. It is so cool to me. It's poetic. It's poetry in motion. Nathan goes through a lot of growth. Nathan probably changed the most, to be honest, since the pilot. He's almost entirely different in a way of growth, in a way that because of Lucas affecting the status quo so directly and over again, like so consistently, Nathan was able to reach a new sincerity that can equal Luke's. And Haley, I think, finally feels comfortable within her own skin, within her role, within her future. She doesn't feel awkward anymore or rebellious. She feels wanted, and I think she feels like she's part of a family because something that I always downplayed, and I think the show downplays it to a certain extent, is that her parents are like transitory. Like they're almost nomadic, it feels like. Part of me feels like Haley has this fear of never being able to pin anything down. Like, like Milan Kundera's Unbearable Lightness of Being. In that book, he also talks about like that weight is equally as unbearable, being weighed down by your lover and all those sorts of things. And I think she was raised by parents who were very liberal and yeah, very like experiential, like experimental and existential, follow your heart. We're taking this RV and we're going to disappear for a few months or something. And so, in retrospect, her going on tour with Chris Keller in the second season, something I found so disagreeable at first, makes a bit more sense when I consider how I'm guessing she was raised. That she was raised by parents who kind of gave her the idea that love is this thing of air, this thing that you're supposed to be constantly chasing. And I think she learns throughout this season that the unbearable weight of love is maybe the grandest of all. And Nathan really, really loves her, and she really, really loves him. And their baby's adorable. And so is Karen's. Karen having the last word, spitting on the glass in the jail cell of Dan Scott. Fucking beautiful. Payback can be so fucking delicious. Some of our other characters, a bit more minor ones. Mouth. I'm sick of this nice guy bullshit, dude. He assaults Brooke at the very last episode and forces a kiss on her, and it's treated like a great moment. No, motherfucker, that's nice guy, creepy sexual assault bullshit. I actually thought Shelly of the Clean Teens was well, I thought she was really hot, but I also thought that she was really intense. Like, the actor was very intense, and the character had a lot of dark edges to her as well. And I feel like it was a huge disservice to her to limit her to being some sort of plot device for Mouth's virginity. Like, oh God, there were so many things you can do with that, so many ways to make that better. And God, we can even talk about like Brooks' honest interest in the philosophy of the Clean Teens. That's almost like, do you take the non-believers because I'm a non-believer again? That's like almost there. I mean, she's definitely not a virgin, but she wants the same kind of affection and love that they have, and she's sick of throwing herself away, giving herself to anybody who gives her a second glance. She wants something meaningful, which is what attracts her to Steven in the first place. Or Chase. I keep calling him by his like real Laguna Beach name, but do you take the non-believers? Because I'm a non-believer. Skills has at least one interesting bit that I thought was pretty touching when he and Haley are on the roof of the school, and he's like, "You see that factory over there? If I don't get into college, my dad's got a job waiting for me, and I know what I'm gonna do for the rest of my life, like what every other person in my family's ever done. The future has been written, and there is no such thing as controlling your destiny." But he gets into college, and it's wonderful. It's also heartbreaking when Nathan is going there, but it does show you like the postmodern strengths of this show, like how far the spectrum has really extended, and the status quo has been completely dismantled and rearranged so that Skills is going to play basketball at college and Nathan is going to do manual labor, seemingly. I mean, his wife and Whitey help him out, help him to get out of there. But like I've been there where Nathan was, and like coming home filthy and having to get that look of like you feel defeated already, but when the person you love looks at you with defeat in their eyes, that's where it gets pathetic and hurtful. So I'm happy Nathan got out of it, but it is fascinating to see how far the status quo had been rearranged at that point. What else is there? We've been going for a while already. This is why I'm happy I split season 4 into 2 videos. Is there anything else? Oh, like, yeah, I don't know how else to work this into the analysis, but I thought it was really interesting in the episode It Gets Worse at Night. I think that's the episode where Peyton and Lucas first make love to Stolen by Dashboard Confessional. Um, there's this cool like montage moment at the prom that they go to, the where the characters realize that they are nothing like ordinary teens, except by way of simple and awkward and true heartbreak. That happens everywhere. So when Mouth says like you ever had your heart broken? They all agree. But we see all these other archetypes go up there, and it's really funny. It's a moment of self awareness. And I'm like, you guys know what you're doing. You've known from the beginning. Like Lucas is like, wait, so you guys don't have a fatal heart condition, and like your dads aren't murderers or the devil or something? And well, I'm gonna start my own fashion line, but that's after I start this other business venture. I'm like, what are you talking about? Arrested? Oh yeah, my parents. Yeah, I haven't seen them in like ever. I've never seen her parents. So it makes sense. That's a brilliantly beautiful moment of self-awareness because obviously the girls that they're talking to at that prom, the ordinary Texan teenagers, the heartland of American pop culture, that's who the show is communicating with at full blast. And yet, something is truly universal outside of the absurdity of their archetypes. And it's everyone can understand heartbreak, but especially young people. That's universal. Oh. Yeah. I just wanted to say somewhere that just like in season 3, where at the Halloween party, um Peyton and Mouth broke out in a fully choreographed disco dance. Really appreciated the end of the finale of season 4 with the fully choreographed Spice Girls dance with all the girls, and I was like, this is elating. This is fucking so rewarding and satisfying. And I feel so happy. I feel so happy. And then they're all at the river court at the end. They were there. They exist. And I'm so proud of them. Each and every one of them. I really am. I'm so I'm so impressed by this show. Like I can't put it into words at this point because it was around like the last 5 episodes of season 4 that it dawned on me that I was watching one of the best one of the best teen shows of all time. And that this was a symphony. This wasn't something simple. This was something that had been planned and orchestrated. I had assumed that they threw shit at a wall to see what stuck. Like down to the point where like I don't think they could have planned this, right? This part couldn't have been deliberate. Um, when Luke realizes that like, oh, someone saw Dan shoot Keith, and immediately my brain went Abby, because even though I only saw her in that one episode, the school shooting one, she left a huge impression on me as the diabetic girl who Jimmy let go. And I'm like, we're seeing that shot of her running in slow motion. And at that point, it hit me as like a sensationalist bit of empathy in a weaponized and troubled individual like Jimmy. That's what I took it as originally. But now I'm like, did they know from the beginning did they know that they were gonna bring her back? But if they knew, why didn't they, like, show it then? Or did they show it then? They probably didn't. That probably couldn't have been planned, but it's making me think it was. And whether it was or wasn't doesn't fucking matter because it works so perfectly because I screamed Abby, and it was Abby, and it made sense in my brain, even though I don't know if that was, like, on a blueprint, if that was actually, uh, considered or not. It worked. It doesn't matter if something was thrown at a wall and it stuck. What matters is the impression that it left. And this thing left a masterpiece in its wake. And I am just floored. I'm gutted. I am amazed by One Tree Hill seasons 1 through 4. One of the best decisions I ever made on this channel is to investigate, analyze, and truly engage with One Tree Hill. It's one of the best decisions I ever made on this channel because it's one of the most rewarding experiences of my life. And I can't wait to continue. I guess we're going to college, and that's exciting, I guess. College is weird, though. Thinking to some of my other favorite shows, Veronica Mars, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Dawson's Creek. Whenever a show goes to college, it feels like it's a whole new show. So I am curious to see how One Tree Hill handles higher education. Um, I'm just sure that nothing could reach this high. Like, this can compete with the first 4 seasons of Dawson's Creek, which before watching One Tree Hill, I thought the first 4 seasons of Dawson's Creek was untouchable teen drama. But now I have to reconsider that entirely because One Tree Hill is masterful in a way that's unique, in a way that's separate, distinct from anything else I've ever seen. And I don't think it should have worked, but it really did, and it felt like there was a controlling auteur, like a vision from the very beginning. Episode by episode, little by little, that your cone of sight got larger and larger until it was kaleidoscopic, and all these disparate, separate, mysterious parts of the human condition formed to make perfect and pure and romantic sense. Life is about acts of redemption. What's comforting is the idea that you will be redeemed with moments of clarity. Every punishment that you endure, just know that it's for a reason. You don't have to think it's part of God's plan, because I'm a non-believer. But I believe that we also deserve something good. And I also think we can achieve it. I think it's attainable. The world that I'm talking about is real, and we can all take it. From the bottom of my heart, thank you for watching this video, and I'll be back in a week to talk to you about season 5. Um, I've never been at a peak that is this high before, so far as postmodern teen drama goes. This peak of One Tree Hill, to me, I feel like I'm on Mount Everest right now. And thank you for coming with me on that journey. I think that's all. See you next time at season 5.